Hello and welcome to Transformation Now. I have two questions for you. One, what is your greatest desire? And two, what thought patterns and lifestyle behaviors would you like to change in order to get to that greatest desire? So we're going to talk about that today. And this is part of my book, Hope at the End of Your Rope, Steps to Rebuild Your Life. And so we're going to talk about ways to rebuild your life. And it's more than just what we do on a daily basis. There's a lot of things underneath, fears, grief, all kinds of things that also need to be taken care of in order to really rebuild your life. And so we're going to talk about those today. Hi, I'm Rita Rocker Kraft with Transformation Academy. And I welcome you today to continue on from what we did last week regarding changing life, creating a new destiny for you. And so one of the things is overcoming the demons that keep us captive. And there's so many things that can keep us captive, things that happened to us maybe when we were little, or things that people said, things that people did to us, health issues. There's so many things that can keep us captive and pull down lifestyle that we had to grow up in maybe. And so how do we get out of that? And so a lot of times we become afraid, and fear can keep us captive to accomplishing and achieving our goals, desires, and things that God has planned for us. And I know firsthand from all the abuse and the things that I went through and the poverty and the health issues and everything, I understand fear can keep us down. We're afraid to step out. We're afraid we'll get hurt. We're afraid we'll fail. We are afraid that we'll be rejected again. And so what do? We just kind of hang in that fear, afraid to move, because where we are is at least familiar. But that's not probably a good place to be in many cases. So fear can paralyze us, and so we fall short of what God really has for us. So today I want to really get into all the other areas that could affect us in achieving our goals and our dreams and what God really does have for us. You know, 2 Chronicles 16:9, and the word says, keeping our eyes on Him will keep us from those fearsome things, because the Lord's eyes move to and fro throughout the earth, that He may strongly support those whose heart is completely His. He will support us. So what does support mean? It means a lot more than I really originally thought it did. It means to bear the weight of, to hold in position, to prevent from falling, sinking, or slipping, to keep one's spirit from failing during times of stress that we all have, to lend strength to provide or maintain by supplying with money or other necessities. So in other words, when we keep our eyes on Him, He's providing for our needs, as long as we do that. And I've gone through all that, dealing with a lot of things now that prove when we keep our eyes on Him, instead of focusing constantly on the other things that are around us that bring more of the same hurtful issues, we rise and we go forward, because He's there to support us, to lift us up, to hold us, and to provide for us. So think of what areas you might need support in. You know, honestly, it could be something as serious as a restraining order on somebody that's caused you fear. And, you know, that happens. It could be needing help with childcare, and maybe needing to find someone who could barter services with you, help you care for your children a few hours a week, or care for someone that you are caring for, in place of maybe you helping them figure out how to work their checkbook, or cooking some nice meals for them. So those are things to always think about. Or maybe more income, and you're going, how am I going to do this? Okay, there again, we will have that support when we keep our eyes above. So let's examine where else we can get support. You know, ask God, like I've said before, to bring you new friends, to bring you a new job, to bring you into places of new opportunities. There are all kinds of new opportunities, and especially if something has happened and our life has drastically changed. Ask Him for new opportunities. He can bring those to you, and He can bring those to you very quickly. Would it be finding a pastor or a group Like I belong to a women's group that has been so strong and so supportive and just really what I needed. And a lot of times it's just finding a supportive group, not a negative group, not one who's out there to party hardy and, mull around all the things that are tough in life, but one that's actually really supportive. Is it a teacher? Maybe it's a teacher you had years ago, but you knew this teacher was always there for you. Maybe contact that teacher and sit down and have a talk. It could be a medical facility. There are so many places that we can get the help that we need. I've seen so many, even on Facebook, support groups. I have Meniere's disease. I found a support group for that. There are so many support groups if people have cancer or if they have trouble getting forward in life. So I would encourage you to even get on positive support groups that could be on Facebook or LinkedIn or other groups that are actually giving you helpful advice, that are there as friends. Maybe you feel right now like, gosh, I just don't have any friends. I'm trying to transition my life, and so I've let go of all these other things, and now what am I going to do? I don't even have anybody to talk to. Get online. Get into supportive groups like in Facebook or other organizations where you can actually bat back and forth comments, thoughts, suggestions, feelings, and feel the love from other people, because it's out there. It is out there. Even if you're in that transition period and it's really tough right now, because of feeling lonely. There are so many people that are lonely right now, and I believe I heard this morning up to 46% of people are feeling alone in certain ways. So get out there and really connect with those people who, even online, if that's what you need to do in order to first start building up friendships. And then you can find organizations that you can belong to, whether it's church, business, professional organizations. There's all kinds of them out there that actually, if you're afraid to just walk in and start talking to people because that's uncomfortable, and I know how that is, then volunteer to take a position in that organization, whether it's being a greeter, whether it's serving, whatever it is, because that way you're comfortable, you're doing something, and yet you're meeting new people and making new friends, and that really, really can make a huge difference in your life. There's also something called meetup.com, and I've joined a couple groups. You can join groups there, and whether it's your interest is in finance, whether it's just in going out dancing and having fun in a positive way, whether it's for you like painting or you like singing or you like movies. There are all kinds of places and organizations and contacts that you can make with the meetup.com group. So these are just a few suggestions if you feel like you're afraid to get out, to step out and to try to do something different. Another depression, another little monster that we have, not a little monster, a big monster, is depression. And I read yesterday that I believe 1 in 4 children are on antidepressant medicines right now. And so that is something that we need to change in this world, bring people back up again. And a lot of times depression is linked to unforgiveness and anger. And usually when we're angry, the bottom core of that is hurt and unforgiveness. And most often that's what's causing the anger. We feel rejected, we feel hurt. Somebody did something to us that hurt us. So that's the time I really encourage people to fix yourself up, maybe change your clothes, get out, go for a walk, go somewhere, go to a department store and even look around. Something that can shift your mind immediately into another dimension. Could be just watching something on TV that's a little more positive. I like to watch travel shows because I haven't really been able to travel much, and so that way, hey, I get to see what Europe looks like. So there are things that we really can do if we want to. So you want to get out the house, window shop, maybe call a positive friend, or someone that you know and say, hey, can we meet for coffee? I would just like to sit down and chat with you for a while. But make sure it's somebody who's really positive, and always steer the conversation in a more productive, positive way. I have a couple girlfriends that we like to get together for a happy hour, coffee, or something like that. But a lot of times the conversation has turned very frustrated, very angry, a lot of things going on in their lives, my life like everybody else's lives. And so sometimes it's easy to get into a conversation that seems to be pretty negative overall. And so then you get up to leave and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't feel any better than I did. So what I suggested just last week was, okay, why don't we each take 5 minutes to talk about things that are maybe hurtful, frustrating, challenges that we're dealing with, 5 minutes each. And then after that, we're going to go into positive conversation, look for good things, come up with positive plans for things that we can do and have fun and enjoy life. And so I would even suggest that to you. If you need to let people know what's going on, stick it to 5 minutes and then completely shift and change into a new subject. And you'd be amazed how much better you feel when you leave. And gives you a whole different perspective. Maybe it's just listening to relaxing, upbeat music. That really helps. I don't mean the destructive music, I mean the relaxing. Or just walking and maybe talking to God and praying. So things like that. It's very important that we do that, to always keep shifting out of where we are. Because if we keep focusing on where we are, and we're poor, we're broke, we're hurt, all of this, we will keep pulling that in. So you've got to move yourself out of that realm that you may be in right now. So, sometimes, like I said, just look at travel shows on TV. Hey, if you're alone, start dancing around the room with some fun music on. It's amazing how good that can make you feel, just being crazy, dancing around the room when nobody's around, preferably. Or singing to yourself, singing in the car. It really can literally shift how you feel at the moment. And that's so very, very important. Too, there's harboring anger and unforgiveness. We all have that. We've all been hurt. We've all been wounded. And so many times, something that happened, I know so many people right now, something happened in their family like years ago. And these people still won't talk to each other after all these years. So they're really being robbed of family relationships or friendships because of something that happened that should have been forgiven years ago. And having gone through the terrible abuse and the things that I went through, could I let that keep me down the rest of my life? Yes. Did I? Do I want to? No. And so we have a choice. We have an actual choice whether we will be angry or not. And so we need to think about that. Unforgiveness is like a cancer that can eat away at our body. I've known so many people that because of unforgiveness, they literally, it seems like that was the starting point for cancer or all other kinds of health issues, because it really will affect the cells in our body. It will affect our body in so many ways. And so the only way to really get beyond that is to be able to forgive. And if unforgiveness towards ourselves, I've had a lot of that towards myself that I beat myself up with all the time. And so I asked God to help me forgive myself. I've been mad at him, and I've apologized and said, please, Lord, forgive me. I've been mad at other people. We all have. We've all had times of grief and anger and unforgiveness. But all that will do is keep us bound up, and we can't live the lives that we deserve, that we want to have. And so I just would encourage you in that, to be free, to move forward once and for all. I believe I mentioned in the last program, it's kind of like when I heard a pastor say one time, unforgiveness is like, the deed that somebody did was kind of like a bird dropping right on your nose. Kind of gross, but anyway, a bird dropping on your nose, and that's all you can see. So we look at this and we're all angry all the time when there's all this beauty and all these good things around us, but we can't see it because all we can see is that unforgiveness that plopped itself right here in front of us. And I said, take your nose through the car wash. Let's get rid of that. Let's go forward in unforgiveness, because it doesn't really bind up the other person. It binds you up from the things that are wonderful. If I would have let all the abuse in the past rule the rest of my life, it'd been pretty pitiful. And so no, we can't do that. We need to be set free. So think, what steps do you need to take in order to forgive someone? Now, I probably shared this before. God made it really clear to me one day. He said, ask me to forgive her through you. And I said, okay, I need to, I want to move on with my life. I can't do it on my own. Please help me. So I said, God, would you please forgive her through me? And I hadn't seen this woman in years. And then 2 weeks later, I run into her. I knew what that was all about, and it was all gone. I didn't have any more anger or unforgiveness towards her. And I've done this several times when somebody has deeply hurt me, and it really works. You can say, God, help me see myself through your eyes, Because if we see ourselves as somebody that's damaged, defective, something's wrong, that's what we keep seeing. So he will always show you, if you ask him to let you see yourself through his eyes, he will show you how he sees you, as his daughter, as his son, as his beloved. Because I remember one time when I was sitting down and I called myself a dumb blankety blank, that I can't say, and I heard God say, "Who are you calling that?" Whoop. He said, "If you ask me to take up residence within you, how can you call yourself that?" And I said, "Oh, I am so sorry." And tears running down my cheeks. I said, "I'm so sorry." Because at that moment I realized I'm his. Okay? So I can't be that thing that I called myself. And so think about that. Ask him to let you see yourself through his eyes, let you see someone else who's hurt you through his eyes, let you see him through his eyes. And it can totally, honestly, in an instant, change your perspective of what's going on, what happened to you, and who hurt you. So, a lot of times anger triggers something in us. We're triggered to anger, we're triggered to sadness or hurt by something that happens. How someone talks to you, how someone treats you. Gosh, my bank balance is just never going to go anywhere. I'm just so tired of the struggle. Maybe a reminder of a song. Sometimes a song somebody heard when they were younger and somebody hurt them and it comes back on the radio and it's like, and they get all angry. And so we project things onto others. So many times, especially like if a couple or maybe even a boss and an employee, something happens that triggers a memory in them from how someone talked to them or treated them in the past, and bam, they get angry right away. And so what we do then is we take that anger we had from somebody else, not this person, happens a lot in relationships, but we take that anger from someone else and we end up projecting it onto someone else, and all of a sudden they're the bad guy, and so we're upset with them. And that's really, really not what we need to be doing, but to stop it immediately. Stop it immediately and think, nope, I'm not going to project onto this other person. I see that in family relationships too, projecting negatives from someone else onto a different person. And so always stop and think, am I projecting something onto them that they're not responsible for? They're not doing what this other person did in the past, because that can happen. So is there a situation that you can think of that causes you to always be angry, always be hurt? That's when you want to stop and think, okay, every time this happens, every time somebody says this thing, I get really, really angry. And so I encourage you to stop, sit down, and think, okay, next time this happens, because it will, this is how I'm going to act. I'm going to brush it off. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to say, hey, love you anyway, but that's enough. Something like that. But always think about what you can say to confront the issue and let it go and move on. Is it a real fear? Is it a perceived fear? A lot of times we're just flat out afraid, but it is something that we can change. We can change sometimes to a new city. We can change a partner. We can make all kinds of changes if we allow ourselves to. I remember not too long ago, because of all the things I'd been through in my past, and I thought, I'm just going to get on Match.com and Our Time and all of these, because I thought, I'd like to meet a nice person who really cares about me. And I really felt like God said, nuh-uh, you're not going to meet who I have for you by doing that. That's not where the person is that I have for you. So I stayed on it kind of anyway. And then just a few months ago, I was out with some girlfriends, and bam, I ran into a guy from junior high and high school. And within 3 months, we got married. And it's been such a blessing. But there again, it wasn't my plan. It was his plan that actually worked. So try to listen and see what's going on and follow that and change those thoughts, change those patterns to something that's positive. Okay, I'm going forward. I'm going to trust this time. So, brainstorm ways to avoid letting anger triggers happen. It could be sitting down and reading scriptures or motivational, inspirational quotes and books, which are really, really helpful quite a bit. It's not something that's hurtful or angry or like soap opera, everybody's hurting everybody else, but it's something that's really positive, builds you up and think, yeah, I'm okay. I'm worthy. I am a good person. And start thinking about those kind of things instead. Could be, just saying, hey, I'm a son or I'm a daughter of the King, of God's daughter. I'm made in his image, so you know what? I'm worthy. I'm enough. Matter of fact, I'm more than enough. And if you tell yourself that every day, that you're more than enough, and you are, it will change your outlook on yourself. And that will affect all the things that are happening in your life and bring you forward into something that's better, where you know you're worthy, you know you're a blessing to other people. So Philippians 3:13 says, forget what lies behind and reach forward to what lies ahead. And I think about that a lot, and just to be real honest with you, in between abusive relationships, I was married to a really good Christian man, and he died 3 weeks before our second anniversary from bone marrow cancer. And I remember shortly after his death, I was sitting there alone and quiet, and I picked up my Bible and I started looking at it, and I saw this scripture about, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead, and, that there were good things in store, and I went, yeah, right. And I took my Bible and I threw it across the room. Okay, not a very nice thing to do. And then I said, God, I'm sorry, you do have plans and a future and a hope. And so, again, we have to pull ourselves out of where we are, what's happening, and keep our eyes above and keep our eyes on the future and on the good things, and shift. I love that word shift. I think of that all the time. Okay, shift what you're thinking right now, because it's not good. Shift. And that really does help. And then there's also giving yourself the gift of healing. When we've been hurt, we've been wounded, somebody died, somebody did something, we lost a job we loved. There's so many times when we're really hurt and we need a gift of healing. And my book talks about that quite a bit. And don't deny the pain. It's there. It's there. It has to be healed. And so what we need to do, again, is keep our eyes moving forward. Cherish any good dreams, but keep your eyes moving forward to establishing what we call a new normal. Your life may never go back to the normal you had if somebody is now gone, but you can establish a new normal, new objectives, new hopes, new dreams, and you really can move forward to control your future in a good way. In Deuteronomy, it says, the Lord is bringing you into a new land where bread, which could be whatever we need, will not be scarce, and you will lack nothing. I know what it's like to be hungry and homeless and abused. So yet he tells us we will lack nothing. If we keep our eyes on him, we won't lack anything, because provision will start coming to us from different directions. So think about that as well. When we heal from loss, we've all been hurt. We've all lost things that we cherished, that we loved. I lost my beloved dog 6 months ago, and I still miss him. So, there are always things that we lose, that we miss very much. And so what we need to do is think about how we can comfort others as well, because that's so very important. A lot of times when we hurt, the best thing we can do is say, hey, God, show me somebody that really is hurting or really needs my help and my love. And so somebody will come in your path, whether it's helping them, comforting them, talking to them, giving them some food, taking them to coffee, whatever the case may be. You heal and feel so much better when you're helping someone else. My husband took some things with him today, just kind of munching as he was working on some things. And he said he had a big group of grapes left. And he saw a man standing on the corner. And so he said, you know what, I'm going to give him my grapes. That's all I have right now, but I'll give him my grapes. And the man looked at him and with very sad eyes, so he was legitimately there because he needed help. And he said, thank you so much. I was really hungry. And so even if it's something like that, take an extra coat in the winter, put it in your car. I've done that. You never know when somebody might need it. You're giving love, you're helping others, and that helps to pull you out of your situation when you do that. I said, you know what, from now on, we're going to have snacks in the car. If we see somebody that we can feel in our hearts really, really is hungry, really, really does need help, here you go. And that'll make you feel so good because you're impacting someone else's life. And remembering that suffering is only temporary. That's really hard to do. A lot of times people literally commit suicide because they're in a hurtful situation and they don't know how to get out of it. And yet every situation is temporary. It really is. I remember when my late husband was so sick and the church sent us to City of Faith Hospital that used to be, part of Oral Roberts University where the doctors and nurses would pray. And for 6 weeks, I had to just sleep in his room or find a place out on a couch. 6 weeks. It was terrible. And I kept thinking, God, have you forsaken me? And yet I knew, again, I heard that everything is temporary. And so for those of you going through something really, really hard right now, know that it is temporary. It will change. Keep your eyes above. Do what you can. Help other people. But all pain is temporary if we let it be, if we let Him work through us to cause us to be able to move forward. So if there's something in your life that you need a new normal on, something is missing, seek out who you can have for new friends, maybe even a new partner, a new job. Establish your new normal. Because I remember when my dad passed away, and that's when I first learned this lesson about you establish a new normal. You go a different direction. You find people that can help fill that emptiness, that space in there, and you go forward. And so think about that very much in establishing a new normal, because that it definitely is possible to do. So just take a moment, think about some things, and what do you need to establish as far as a new normal? What can you do to reach out to other people, which in turn will make you feel really good and take your mind off a situation? Who can you go to talk to who will be positive, and that's the key word, positive, who will be supportive, who will be uplifting? Start thinking of those things. What can you do without any money? Listen to positive music, radio, get on the internet, and start pulling up clubs, organizations. There's tons of inspirational messages on there. Start listening to those. There's so many things you can do. Find a neighbor, find a friend, somebody who needs help, and maybe you need help, and so you can barter, you can trade services, what you have to offer them and what they can offer you in return. Because boy, that builds up friendships, and you get to move forward and start new things in life. It works. It really does work. So always in turning winter into spring. Winter was hard this year, and we're ready for spring. Winter keeps trying to hit us again, but we need that. We want to go forward. And so every circumstance can be used to fulfill your destiny. You go, yeah, right, but it can. I believe that I'm going to start working with my church on some sex trafficking safe house ministry that's actually they're working on in other countries as well, because God told me to, and I know how that feels. And so you can take those bad things and you can turn them around for good if you want to. And so just know firsthand that no matter what it is, widowhood, divorce, illness, tons of illness, abuse, things like that, we can always turn those things into something positive and move into spring and stay out of winter from here on out. And it really does work. I've seen that in the lives of so many people. I remember my pastor and here another pastor, and oh my gosh, they went through severe beatings and drugs and all kinds of things growing up. I think of Walt Disney, who he and his brother were very badly abused by their father and froze their fannies off trying to work on the family farm from, before sun came up until bedtime, and didn't get to do anything outside of school except work. And yet all this time Walt Disney kept thinking about a place for people to go that's enchanted, where they could dream, where they could have fun, where they could get away from everything. And so I always think, we can write our history or our future just like he did by doing that. And so think of an experience that can help you move forward and not allow hindering things to keep you down. Use the experiences, maybe use them in a charitable organization, a school, foster family, women's groups, clubs, etc. And so think of those things. And join me for the next time, because we're going to finish out and talk about grief, get into fun things, get into some new and exciting things that you can do from here on out. So I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.